Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On Target with the Bullseye Chief. With me is Tech Sergeant Beem. I call him Moon. He is my exec. He's my executive. And I just want to introduce you to him, get his perspective, because it is unique coming from maintenance into an exec position, night and day difference. And he could tell you all about that. So hello, how are you doing, Moon?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You and I work extremely close together, right?
Yes.
You basically run my life for me. But what we want to talk about is, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? And the goal here is that maybe other airmen in the 57th Wing see this, they connect with you, get to understand a little bit about the executive position, what that entails, what it was like for you. So give us a real quick background on yourself.
Quick background. So I am a F16 Crew Chief by trade. I've been at Spangolum, Osan, Edwards, and then I got to Niles last summer. And I started over at Viper. I was there for 3 months before I came over to be your exec. Mm-hmm. It was a very interesting and very eye-opening experience because, as many people know, and especially the maintainers, when you're out there in the flight line, you kind of get in this little maintenance bubble and you're so focused on what you're doing out there that, at least for me, I kind of forgot, like, well, there's a whole other Air Force out there. There's other people doing crazy stuff, you know, that are really, really busy and making a huge impact. So it was interesting leaving maintenance and seeing all of that, getting exposed to everything. You just get to see Niles and the 57th Wing from kind of a higher view looking down.
Yeah. So what was the most difficult thing for you to transition to when you came into the exec job because you just never exposed to it or whatever?
Well, okay. For one, I was outside turning wrenches all day, and I've never had a job sitting behind a desk.
Right.
For one thing. So here I thought, like, yeah, I know how to shoot some emails and I can use Word and everything. And then it was like, oh, this is actually complex. And then there was so many things going on that your to-do list, you know, I write down a to-do list just to keep everything organized. And I'm like, man, I can't get through it. It just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. So I had to learn how to prioritize everything that was going on a lot more efficiently. So that was pretty difficult. But as time goes on, you start getting a little bit more used to it. Another thing that was kind of a challenge for me was when I was working out of the flight line, like your jet's out there. You fix your jet and then you go home. You can't take the jet home with you to fix. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people this, my laptop, I can stuff it in my backpack. Mm-hmm. I can take it home if I need to, you know, and I like to keep that balance of work and home and everything like that, which I feel like I've gotten pretty good at. Yeah. I've gotten confident on that. But there was just different kinds of stressors that were involved. I felt like there's been a lot of people that are depending on me. But yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I would think one of the most difficult things is you went from what might be long hours on the flight line, but they were relatively predictable hours. You had this shift, right?
It depends. Like, yeah, you know when your swing shift's coming in, but then there's certain things that are unpredictable. Like you could have a jet land and it's code 1 and you're waiting for it at your spot, and then all of a sudden there's a garbage bag that flies down the flight line and it gets sucked into the intake.
It out,
and it's a Friday, and next thing you know, oh, we got to take the engine out. And it's like, oh, really? We thought this jet was going to be code 1, but last second something happened.
Yep.
You know, so you never really know completely what's going to happen out there.
Right. Now, but the difference would be, I think, in this job is, it's not that it's a 24/7 job, but it could be.
It could be. There's still surprises. Yeah. You know,
you're on a leash, right? Like you're
a little bit
at my beck and call.
But the longer that I'm here, the better I'm becoming at predicting what can happen next.
Right.
I can predict that, or if something, you know, if I see something where I'm like, maybe this is going in the wrong direction, I know how to fix those kind of issues now.
Right.
And that just takes time.
Sure.
Really.
So is there anything about the time you've had at this job and been able to settle in and get your battle rhythm going and learn all these things that you think will help you when you go back to maintenance?
Yes, there's a lot of different procedures on things. I remember the OTS applicants coming through, and I thought like, oh, this isn't going to be all too bad, you know. And then I started kind of looking at their packages, where it's like, man, these guys have so much to get ready, you know. And it's little things like that, or the EFDP panels. It's not very common for a staff sergeant to get to sit in on those panels and to see how these commanders are grading and different things that they are looking at. So there's little things like that. So when I get back to the flight line, let's just say I have, you know, somebody in my shop that they want to go to OTS, or they're questioning how these panels are run or who gets promotes and must promotes. You know, I have that perspective of, hey, I've sat in on these things. I've heard what these people are saying, the things that they're looking for. These are the problems that you guys might be able to, or that you could run into.
Right.
So I can help people there. As far as like going back to, you know, I was saying, I've never sat behind a computer before for work. There's so many little things I'm learning that can change processes to make things easier for everybody else on the computer. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different things.
So you have a wife and a young son.
I do.
And did they, when you made the transition into this job, was there anything that was weird to them? Like, did your wife mention anything like, hey, this, you know, like I noticed a change or something weird?
There's been some changes. Like one thing we were talking about is, you know, right now it's like I come into work usually at the same time every single day, and we're like, this is, you know, we're super thankful for this experience, you know, because we do get time to spend, you know, as a family and everything. And when I go back to the flight line, that's going to be a transition that, you know, I've kind of warned my wife like, hey, I might be on swings or mids and you're going to be working a daytime shift, and we still have a 1-year-old that we have to take care of. Like, we have to start planning for all of this. I think my wife, she does like me doing this, though. She does like it. And I can kind of tell her more about what's going on around base and the different things outside of maintenance. So I think she kind of gets as a civilian spouse, she gets a better idea of what the 57th Wing in Niles is all about.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and what's the coolest thing or most interesting thing that you've seen in your time in the exec seat so far? And then what is it that you want to go see?
There's a lot of cool stuff. It sounds weird saying this since I'm a maintainer, but I actually do like going out on the maintainer times because I've gotten to see these different shops like PML, for example. In my head, I'm just like, oh, we just send some tools here to get fixed really quick. Yeah. Easy peasy. And then when you and I went there, I think with Colonel Heine, I was just like, wow, I didn't know that they were fixing all these, you know, radio equipment, and they were working with different countries on things.
Yeah.
And
they're like the sole people to fix, I forget what it was for another country.
Yes.
They fixed all that country's
yes.
measuring thing, whatever it was that they were fixing.
So they had a lot of moving pieces back there. Getting to go out to 57 months, that was a pretty unique experience because that's a whole other side of Niles that I never had any purpose to go out to before.
They're way over, it seems they're just right over there, but it's kind of like they're way over there, right?
Yeah. Things I want to see, I want to go out with the TAC-Ps, which I think we have in works right now. I also want to go see the working dogs. I want to see them attack some people.
Yeah.
I'll get attacked too.
Yeah, well, that's part of the deal. Like, you got to wear the
But I
suit.
want to laugh and see if the dogs attack somebody else too. So
it's a good time. Yeah.
And security forces, it seems like those guys are always working. Guys and girls are always working very hard. So it'd be
they are.
It's interesting to see their job. But yeah.
Well, great. We'll definitely. I got to say, you mentioned, so that's a great example about the connection to the 57th Wing. Within your own maintenance group, there are units that you have no idea, essentially, what you thought you knew what they did. Man, they calibrate stuff, or torque wrenches. And then you went there and you went, oh my gosh, it's like a mad scientist laboratory in this place. And it really is. It's if anyone has a chance to, you know, if PML can run you through some of the stuff, it's a little bit mind-blowing, actually, all the stuff they do.
Well, somebody can tell you, too. They can tell you, like, oh, PML does all this stuff, for an example. But it doesn't really hit you until you are there in person and you actually get to see everything.
Yeah. It was the same for me. Like, I'm TAC-P by trade, so no maintenance background. But what I got exposed to maintenance while I was in the OG working with maintenance, and ever since then on Nellis, completely mind-blowing. And what you've saved me by being my exec, like when we go do those maintainer times, not only are new things revealed to you because you've seen how other shops work, but like your insight into the maintenance day to day helps focus our attention when we go there, rather than just me tooling around like a dummy, going, let me go see some stuff because I don't know what it is I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But you've saved me. It's been very advantageous your perspective from the maintenance side. Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's wrap this thing up. You mentioned what you did see and that was most interesting and what you want to see, and we can make that happen. If you had any kind of advice for your fellow Bullseye airmen out there on, perspective or the mission or anything, what would it be?
I would say focus on the things that matter. Find out about our future and the future threats that we have and understand that they're real and let that sink in.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
And then maybe you'll know how your mission connects to those potential
exactly.
things. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for agreeing. First of all, thank you for joining the Air Force and volunteering that. Second of all, thank you for being my exec and putting up with
no problem.
We won't talk about my idiosyncrasies on camera. But thank you for that, and thank you for your time here on the podcast, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everyone.